Hello again, it's John. Back on the couch for this one, for this haunted schoolhouse and laboratory. On the couch for this one because I actually went to it with other people. For once, I actually had social interactions with people that were more than just sort of, hey, I'm going to joke with you for a couple minutes and then be on my way. Made a whole evening of it, and I had a wonderful time. That being said, the Haunted Schoolhouse and Laboratory in Akron, the Saturday before Halloween, I quite busy. Good thing they put up because they used to have the ticket booth inside. Now they moved it outside, and since it was so kind of full, they had the corral inside was kind of full, so they had like a overflow corral. Fortunately, most of it had a roof, because it was interesting, off and on deluges all night. So yeah, that was interesting. So there was a substantial line, and they kept it moving pretty well. And they used to have it in. Well, there's been a couple of times with them and Factory Terra because the same people own them, where they recently in the last couple of years set up a couple of TVs inside, and they used to show like movies or something like that. Now it's just basically advertisements for their stuff. They still had a couple people, actors in the masks and stuff, walking out and kind of interacting, and everyone's doing more booze and liquor and beer and stuff now, so they had that going as well. But again, they kept the line moving pretty well. If there were kind of groups of people, they wanted you to just kind of hand all the tickets together. They'd punch them all in one thing to try and save time. So they're actually at least trying to do stuff to keep the line moving. I mean, we got there kind of late too. We were hoping after dinner, after eating dinner and then getting out there, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour sometimes. We were just kind of hoping to avoid some of the crowds, end up kind of catching the tail end of it. That being said, it was flipping fantastic. It was so freaking cool. We really had a really good time at it. And the first few years I've gone there, it was pretty steady. It was pretty solid. It was pretty good. The scenes were really cool, and they kept things moving. It's the first. There's two buildings. The first building, the schoolhouse, is like, two or three floors, and then like this basement. They have like the whole, as you go down, it used to actually almost like you walk through the door, and the door is kind of dressed like a coffin. And then it has like, all this like fake stone. So it's like you're going into this crypt, and it's got, it almost sort of like this medieval dungeon, and there's different stuff where there's water bubbling up and all these things. So, and there's one room in the upper floors that's all, sort of vampire castle mansion it out and everything like that. So they've always had really cool scenes, and usually do a pretty good job of having, a portion of the actors not just sort of slam their foot in the ground and scream in your ear, or just growl at you or something like that. Some people actually attempting to make some sort of character, or set some sort of uh, environment, some sort of mood up with it. And they still had that. The last 2 or 3 years, they've really done an awesome job with changing stuff up. They changed some of the flow in some of the ones, especially in the schoolhouse. Uh, the way they flow some of the scenes around, actually using more of the older extant building, some of the exposed brick and other stuff like that. And even between last year and this year, last year was like probably the best year I had there, and then this year was even better. Like they really did a lot of work in changing the a little bit of the flow, but also kind of moving the scenery. There's some stuff that is just blatantly, like the hallway going down. One thing was had all this facade stuff on it. It's never had before. There's some other doorways and other things that didn't have facades. They built out some things, and while it had kind of cool either animatronics or statue stuff behind these glass works, and more of those sort of kind of display but still lighting up and kind of coming at you sort of thing, but it built a little bit of the claustrophobia of it. And they're still playing with different ways you kind of go up and down, and up some ramps and down some ramps and stairs. And so it's not just sort of playing with the space here, but getting you to move and do stuff like that. There's one room that's actually on like a balance, so the whole thing will shift, and then the whole thing will shift depending upon how you walk it. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. You were sleeping real good. Here, let me scratch your belly. Oh, there's a pug face. He just sort of is slowly deflating into sleep. Oh, he's so cute. Anyway, so yeah, so they did a lot with, they're doing a lot more with the scenery, and then they opened up some of the flow where you're actually walking through the scenes more than they used to. It used to be almost just sort of classic haunted house where the scene is presented almost proscenium kind of tableau, and then you walk past that. It's now more getting you into it as well. So you get into the environment, you get into the space more and everything like that. There's a couple places where at first it kind of annoyed me, especially the sort of vampire mansion room, because I just really liked it. I mean, I'm still, pun intended, sucker for vampires. I like vampire stuff. I like that old sort of classic monster sort of thing. Um, maybe probably even more than just like slasher stuff and everything like that. I like a good monster, good vampires, cool werewolves. Um, you very rarely get any decent mummy stuff or anything like that. But like a good creature sort of thing, I like that. And but then after a couple of years, I'm like, no, I actually like walking through it, and it really, it makes it more. It gets you into the mood. It brings you into the environment. It makes it more into your perceptions of it because you're a part of it more with that. Sometimes like those haunted forests or something like that are really good at it because you're in the environment, and it's more of a natural part of the environment that you're in, and you're going through it as well. And they've been doing that more with that. There's one part that's a little disappointing. There's one part where you walk through like this nasty looking bathroom. I think I talked about this somewhere else. And it had a skeleton on there, and it's like reading something, and it used to have someone, I don't know if it was a camera, the two-way mirror or something when it was, and someone would, basically heckle you like it was the skeleton yelling at you. And we had been there, so regularly that it remembered us. And we'd sit there and have like conversations with it and joke around, and it was cool. And then the last time I was there, when it had someone speaking of it, I was like, hey, and it was clearly a different person. Like whatever voice modulator that they were using was the same, but it was clearly a different person. Didn't know who we were or who I was. Didn't remember, didn't have the same sort of shtick, cadence or anything like that. And the last couple of times I went, it's just been nothing. Which is a little disappointing because I looked forward to that. That was fun. But there were people who were, sorry, there were people who were, um, trying to do different stuff and talk to people in different ways. Oh, here's this, and oh, here's that. Oh, hey, want you to do this. Sometimes it's growly and screamy, and sometimes it was just, hey, I'm going to be just kind of like in here a little weird. And then we're pretty, especially for being, late on the Saturday right before Halloween. So they've been doing this for a few weeks now. We're coming in late and stuff like that. It was still pretty good natured about stuff and still pretty good about just sort of joking around and playing with everything. So that was fun. Um, but yeah, it's without having the play-by-play through every floor. I'm kind of speaking a little bit more at generalities than I've done in the last couple videos, because I'm not taking my video stuff when I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm just not going to do that, because I want to actually hang out with my friends. Put the phone away and enjoy the moment with people you enjoy having moments with. Um, so yeah, you go up to the top, and then each floor is like its own sort of haunted house, and you come down one, go in and through and down, and go in and through and down, and go in. Then you go in through the basement and come up and out. It spits you out, and the sort of causeway, and then you go over to the next building. And but they for Schoolhouse, I mean, they start off the first part of the first one is very much into the Schoolhouse theme, which is something they did before a couple years ago, really. They really sort of bought into it more, and there's a big thing with books and someone saying you're late to class, and you go through an actual, like, classroom sort of thing that's, I'll kill you on the board, and weird, fake dead bodies and stuff like that, and they really do a cool job with that. And then there's more sort of house sort of things. There's one that's an attic, and I always dug the attic scene, the attic room. But I noticed they were even changing that. Like, they built stuff out. And then there's another room that is basically like these sort of jack-o'-lantern head, these huge jack-o'-lantern head things are like, 9-10 foot tall and stuff like that. And that was always cool. You could tell they changed that too. There's like a couple graveyard scenes, a couple sort of like vampire graveyard kind of creature scenes with stuff like that. And I think they redid a little bit of stuff with that, or either that or they were really on the ball with the smoke machine and the stuff like that. And like the atmosphere again, it's that all important atmosphere was amazing. Like, each and every floor, especially in Schoolhouse, was amazing. My one buddy was saying too, it was, it used to sort of be, yeah, the Schoolhouse was really what you came for, and then the laboratory part was sort of a happy bonus. It wasn't as great, but it was kind of a bonus with it. But we had a good time in both. So yeah, the Schoolhouse is more sort of traditional stuff, haunted house things, vampire room, dungeony sort of thing. Uh, and then what they've done with the laboratory is tried to theme it out a little bit more of the sort of science fiction-y or medical horror stuff. And so instead of, they used to have it where you went in and there was like this facade of like this shack, and it sounded like someone was in there like rattling at the doors and stuff, and they had this really cool mural that they painted up, and it had like the different monster faces on it and everything, and that was cool. And then you started going up, and same thing, up and then come down. But that now they have it where you're going in and it's almost like a sort of part zombie, part alien infection quarantine sort of thing that you go to. So it starts you off with that sort of sci-fi horror type of thing, infectious sort of thing. And it just feels like they've tried to move more of the sort of medically, there's a couple rooms with, like, alien, like tall gray sort of creatures and like weird strobe effects and things like that, and like a fake operating theater, and that's where they'll have, oh, this is obviously the crazy person sort of thing, the more medical sort of stuff. Two really main features of the laboratory part that I always thought was amazing. They do have the little spinny thing with it, but that's cool. But one of the things that you see when you first come up is like this steel catwalk that you come around, this big sort of space, this big open space, and you can see down several floors. It looked like someone just took, if like the HVAC units on the ceiling had crashed down through like 4 floors That's what it looks like. It's that there's a little bit of the floor around the outside and a big hole in each of like 3 or 4 floors that just looks destroyed. And they still have stuff there. Like the rooms were in somewhat operation when all this stuff came crashing in. I always thought that was super neat. I have no idea if they built it that way or if some actual messed up structural thing happened and then there's like, let's just run with it. I have no idea, but it's cool. And then on the bottom part of it is staple favorite. They got a big old Tesla coil, and then you kind of walk through fencing. So I would imagine you get that sort of Faraday cage effect. It's almost like a fence tunnel, and then someone's up on top, and you can see like machinery stuff, and someone's up there, and then they'll periodically set it off. And you're sitting in there, and you're like 15, 20 feet or so from this big metal rig thing, and all of a sudden it's and it's like lightning snap, and you can see the electricity arc and the bolts coming off of it, and it actually feels really cool. You can like feel it in your torso. And they usually only snap it off like 2 or 3 times as you're walking through. And we had people behind us, so we couldn't really like linger. Sometimes we're able to linger a little bit more. But we got a couple good jolts with that. And that's always a good favorite too. What was it? I had something and it's probably gone. What was I going to say? Though they're doing more with sort of photo op, selfie op sort of opportunities. And Schoolhouse, like Factory of Terror, is one of those things where they have all this other stuff set up too. So it's they have the people who run that are running this other escape room part of it. In Schoolhouse, they have these booths set up for axe throwing, which I actually did because Schoolhouse will usually do like the Valentine's Day sort of weekend special. One, it was a vampire theme. Then it was gave my heart to the play up with the blood and the heart sort of stuff with it. I got the fast pass thing with it, and with the fast pass came a few free throws with the axe thing, and I did that. No one else was cut up, so the guy let me throw for I was there for like 40 minutes throwing. It was cool. They didn't have any of that set up with this. I would imagine, especially since it's the actual season, they can't really focus on that too much. It's probably just too much. But some of the off-season stuff, they might do that. Again, I don't know. But they have all this other stuff that they're trying to do and all that. So there's sometimes more to experience than others, depending upon how busy it is. If it's an off-season special versus on-season and all that sort of stuff. My text alert is actually, if you could hear that, sorry if you could, is I recorded Shin, especially when I was like, do you want dinner? And he's, oh, you already had it, buddy. You already had it. I know, it's a special word. It's a special word for you. There. You sleepy, but I can't show. You can kind of see him right here. He's got the gel thing. Getting nice and sleepies. Yeah. So, but even with the laboratory start, you can tell that they're putting extra effort into that as well, modifying it, changing some of the spacing and environment of it over the last couple years too. So it's the Schoolhouse part is definitely still like the better half of it. But the laboratory is it just feels like it's pulling its own weight a little bit more now. But highly recommend, probably 4.5, maybe even 5 out of 5. Just really, it's always been like one of the 2 or 3 I look forward to every year. just maybe plan it a little better than the Saturday before Halloween. Everything is getting more and more busy anymore. It didn't used to be as busy. It's a mixed blessing because you have, okay, well, this stuff can run and they can have more money to do more stuff and expand or get more people or get cooler effects or scenes or anything. But also sort of sucks because it's like, we didn't have to used to put up with this many people before. Now you kind of do. I got to plan this better now. I can't just sort of on this whim just kind of go, I'm going to go right now. Can't really do that now. Um, but I mean, it was worth it. It was worth the wait. It was worth kind of, I had an umbrella, and it was worth some of the misty weather and the drive and just kind of waiting for a little bit. It was really cool. Even just like the first floor or two of Schoolhouse, which is the first part, was completely worth it. You know, yeah, I think with Laboratory, they're actually trying to do more of this story for it. Like there was this industrial accident. Um, I forget. I was reading something on it, and I think they had this whole, well, yeah, it was this industrial accident, something like a plane manufacturer or something like that, and it released this messed up stuff that screwed people up. So they're trying to theme it and story it up. So yeah, that's again without the sort of play by play, floor by floor. With that's kind of what I have for it. I highly recommend it. It's worth the trip, and I had a lot of fun. I usually have fun even if I go there by myself. Extra special fun when you're there with cool people. And yeah, so that's what I got for Akron's Haunted Schoolhouse and Laboratory. Let's go. It's good. It's good times. And that's all I got. So like, subscribe, share. If the bell thing's still a thing, do that. And I will see you.